In the 8th new moon of the 2nd year of Yahuah, the word of Yahuah came to Zechariah, son of Berechiah, son of Iddo the prophet, saying, Yahuah was very wroth with your fathers, and you shall say to them, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, Turn back to me, declares Yahuah of hosts, and I shall turn back to you, declares Yahuah of hosts. Do not be like your fathers, to whom the former prophets proclaimed, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, Turn back now from your evil ways and your evil deeds. But they did not obey or give heed to me, declares Yahuah. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? But my words and my laws, which I commanded my servants the prophets, did they not overtake your fathers? Then they turned back and said, As Yahuah of hosts planned to do to us, according to our ways and according to our deeds, so he has done with us. On the 24th day of the 11th new moon, which is the new moon Shabbat, in the 2nd year of Yahuah, the word of Yahuah came to Zechariah, son of Berechiah, son of Iddo the prophet, saying, I looked at night and saw a man riding on a red horse, and he was standing among the myrtle trees in the shade, and behind him were horses, red, sorrel, and white. And I said, My master, what are these? And the messenger who was speaking to me said to me, Let me show you what they are. And the man who stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, They are the ones Yahuah has sent to go throughout the earth. And they answered the messenger of Yahuah, who stood among the myrtle trees, and said, We have gone throughout the earth, and see, all the earth is at peace and rest. And the messenger of Yahuah answered and said, O Yahuah of hosts, how long would you have no compassion on Jerusalem and on the cities of Yehudah, against which you were enraged these 70 years? And Yahuah answered the messenger who talked to me good words, comforting words. And the messenger who spoke with me said to me, Proclaim, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, I have been jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with great jealousy, and I am very wroth with the nations who are at ease, for when I was a little wroth, they furthered the evil. Therefore, thus said Yahuah, I shall return to Jerusalem with compassion. My house shall be built in it, declares Yahuah of hosts, and a surveyor's line be stretched out over Jerusalem. Again proclaim, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, Again my cities shall overflow with goodness, and Yahuah shall again comfort Zion, and shall again choose Jerusalem. Yea. And I lifted up my eyes and looked, and saw 4 horns. And I said to the messenger who was speaking to me, What are these? And he said to me, These are the horns that have scattered Yehudah, Yisrael, and Jerusalem. And Yahuah showed me 4 craftsmen. And I said, What are these coming to do? And he spoke, saying, These are the horns that scattered Yehudah, so that no one lifted up his head. But these come to trouble them, to throw down the horns of the nations that lifted up their horn against the land of Yehudah, to scatter it. And I lifted up my eyes and looked, and saw a man with a measuring line in his hand. And I said, "Where are you going?" And he said to me, "To measure Jerusalem, to see what is its width and what is its length." And see, the messenger who was speaking to me was going out, and another messenger was coming out to meet him. And he said to him, "Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem is to remain unwalled because of the many men and livestock in it. For I myself am to her, declares Yahuah, a wall of fire all around, and for esteem I am in her midst. Oh, and flee from the land of the north, declares Yahuah, for I have scattered you like the four winds of the heavens, declares Yahuah. O Zion, escape, you who dwell with the daughter of Babel. For thus said Yahuah of hosts, for the sake of esteem, he sent me to the nations which plunder you. For he who touches you touches the apple of my eye. For look, I am waving my hand against them, and they shall become spoil for their servants. And you shall know that Yahuah of hosts has sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for look, I am coming, and shall dwell in your midst, declares Yahuah. And many nations shall be joined to Yahuah in that day, and they shall become my people, and I shall dwell in your midst. And you shall know that Yahuah of hosts has sent me to you. And Yahuah shall inherit Yehudah, his portion in the set-apart land, and he shall again choose Jerusalem. Hush, all flesh, before Yahuah, for he has roused himself out of his set-apart dwelling. And he showed me Yahushua, the high priest, standing before the messenger of Yahuah, and Satan standing at his right hand to be an adversary to him. And Yahuah said to Satan, Yahuah rebuke you, Satan. Yahuah who has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is this not a brand plucked from the fire? And Yahushua was dressed in filthy garments, and was standing before the messenger. And he answered, and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, Remove the filthy garments from him. And to him he said, See, I have removed your guilt from you, and shall put costly robes on you. And I said, Let them put a clean turban on his head. Then they put a clean turban on his head, and they put garments on him. And the messenger of Yahuah stood by. And the messenger of Yahuah witnessed to Yahushua, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, If you walk in my ways, and if you guard my duty, then you shall also rule my house, and also guard my courts. And I shall give you access among these standing here. Now listen, Yahushua the high priest, you and your companions who sit before you, for they are men of symbol. For look, I am bringing forth my servant, the branch. See the stone which I have put before Yahushua. On one stone are 7 eyes. See, I am engraving its inscription, declares Yahuah of hosts. And I shall remove the guilt of that land in one day. In that day, declares Yahuah of hosts. You shall invite one another under the vine and under the fig tree. And the messenger who was speaking to me came back and woke me up as a man is awakened from sleep. And he said to me, "What do you see?" So I said, "I have looked and see a lampstand all of gold with a bowl on top of it, and on the stand 7 lamps with 7 spouts to the 7 lamps, and 2 olive trees are by it, one at the right of the bowl and the other at its left." Then I responded and spoke to the messenger who was speaking to me, saying, "What are these, my master?" And the messenger who was speaking to me answered and said to me, "Do you not know what these are?" And I said, "No, my master." And he answered and said to me, "This is the word of Yahuah to Zerubbabel. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, said Yahuah of hosts. Who are you, great mountain, before Zerubbabel? A plain. And he shall bring forth the capstone with shouts of favor, favor to it. Then, and the word of Yahuah came to me, saying, "The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house, and his hands shall complete it. And you shall know that Yahuah of hosts has sent me to you. For who has despised the day of small beginnings? They shall rejoice when they see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. These 7 are the eyes of Yahuah, which diligently search throughout all the earth." Then I responded and said to him, "What are these 2 olive trees, one at the right of the lampstand and the other at its left?" And I responded a second time and said to him, "What are these 2 olive branches, which empty golden oil from themselves by means of the 2 gold pipes?" And he answered me and said, "Do you not know what these are?" And I said, "No, my master." And he said, "These are the 2 anointed ones who stand beside the Master of all the earth." And I lifted up my eyes again and looked and saw a flying scroll. And he said to me, "What do you see?" And I answered, "I see a flying scroll, 20 cubits long and 10 cubits wide." And he said to me, "This is the curse that goes forth over the face of all the earth. Everyone who is stealing shall go unpunished. On the one side, according to it, and everyone who has sworn falsely shall go unpunished. On the other side, according to it. I shall send it out, declares Yahuah of hosts, and it shall come into the house of the thief and the house of the one who shall swear falsely by my name. And it shall remain in the midst of his house and shall consume it, both its timber and stones." And the messenger who was speaking with me came out and said to me, "Lift up your eyes now and see what this is that is going forth." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "It is an ephah measure that is going forth." Again he said, "This is their appearance throughout the earth. And see, a lead cover lifted up, and this, a woman sitting inside the ephah measure. And he said, "This is wrongness." And he threw her down into the ephah measure and threw the lead weight over its mouth. And I lifted up my eyes and looked and saw two women coming with the wind in their wings. And they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah measure between earth and the heavens. Then I said to the messenger who was speaking to me, "Where are they taking the ephah measure?" And he said to me, "To build a house for it in the land of Shinar. And it shall be established and set there on its own base." And I lifted up my eyes again and looked and saw 4 chariots coming from between 2 mountains. And the mountains were mountains of bronze. With the first chariot were red horses, and with the second chariot black horses, and with the third chariot white horses, and with the fourth chariot strong speckled horses. So I responded and said to the messenger who was speaking to me, "What are these, my master?" And the messenger answered and said to me, "These are 4 spirits of the heavens, coming forth from presenting themselves before the Master of all the earth. The one with the black horses is going out to the land of the north, and the white ones have gone out after them, and the speckled ones have gone out to the land of the south. And the strong ones went out, eager to go, to walk to and fro in the earth. And he said, 'Go, walk to and fro in the earth.' So they walked to and fro in the earth. And he called to me and spoke to me, saying, 'See, those who go toward the land of the north have given rest to my spirit in the land of the north.' And the word of Yahuah came to me, saying, 'Receive the gift from the exiles, from Heldai, Tobiah, and Yediah, who have come from Babel. Then you shall go the same day and enter the house of Yoshia, son of Zephaniah. And you shall take the silver and gold, make a crown, and set it on the head of Yahushua, the son of Yehotzadak, the high priest, and shall speak to him, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, saying, See, the man whose name is the branch, and from his place he shall branch out, and he shall build the Hekal of Yahuah. It is he who is going to build the Hekal of Yahuah. It is he who is going to bear the splendor, and he shall sit and rule on his throne, and shall be a priest on his throne. And the counsel of peace shall be between them both. While the crown is for a remembrance in the Hekal of Yahuah to Helam, and to Tobiah, and to Yediah, and to Hen son of Zephaniah, and those who are far away shall come and build the Hekal of Yahuah. And you shall know that Yahuah of hosts has sent me to you. And this shall be, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahuah, your Elohim. And in the 4th year of sovereign Dariawesh, it came to be that the word of Yahuah came to Zechariah on the 4th of the 9th new moon, Kislew. Now Beth El had sent Sharezer with Regem Melech and his men to pray before Yahuah, speaking to the priests who belonged to the house of Yahuah of hosts, and to the prophets, saying, Should I weep in the 5th new moon and fast as I have done for so many years. Then the word of Yahuah of hosts came to me, saying, Speak to all the people of the land, and to the priests, saying, When you fasted and lamented in the 5th and 7th months, all these 70 years, did you truly fast for me? For me? And when you ate, and when you drank, was it not for those eating, and for those drinking? Are these not the words which Yahuah proclaimed through the former prophets, when Jerusalem and the cities around it were inhabited and in safety, and the south and the low country were inhabited? And the word of Yahuah came to Zechariah, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, execute true right ruling, show loving commitment and compassion, everyone to his brother. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the stranger or the poor, and do not plot evil in your hearts against one another. But they refused to listen, and they shrugged their shoulders and stopped their ears from hearing. And they made their hearts like flint against hearing the Torah and the words which Yahuah of hosts had sent by his Spirit through the former prophets. Therefore, great wrath came from Yahuah of hosts. And it came to be, as he called and they did not hear, so let them call, but I shall not hear, said Yahuah of hosts. And I scattered them with a storm wind among all the nations which they had not known. And the land was laid waste behind them, no one passing through or returning, for they made the pleasant land a waste. And the word of Yahuah of hosts came, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, I shall be jealous for Zion with great jealousy, with great wrath. I shall be jealous for her. Thus said Yahuah, I shall return to Zion, and I shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem shall be called City of the Truth, and the mountain of Yahuah of hosts, the set-apart mountain. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, Again old men and old women shall dwell in the streets of Jerusalem, each one with his staff in his hand because of great age. And the streets of the city shall be filled with boys and girls playing in its streets. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, If it is marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of this people in these days, should it also be marvelous in my eyes, declares Yahuah of hosts. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, See, I am saving my people from the land of the sunrise and from the land of the sunset, and I shall bring them back, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they shall be my people, and I shall be their Elohim, in truth and in righteousness. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, Let your hands be strong, you who are listening in these days to these words, from the mouth of the prophets, of the day the foundation was laid for the house of Yahuah of hosts, the Hekal that was to be rebuilt. For before these days there was not a wage for a man, nor a hire for beast, and there was no peace for him who went out or came in, because of his enemies. And I set all men one against another. But now I am not as in the former days to the remnant of this people, declares Yahuah of hosts. Because of the sowing of peace the vine does give its fruit, the ground does give her increase, and the heavens do give their due. and I shall cause the remnant of this people to inherit all these. And it shall be, as you were a curse among the nations, O house of Yehudah and house of Yisrael, so I shall save you, and you shall be a blessing. Do not fear, let your hands be strong. For thus said Yahuah of hosts, as I purpose to do evil to you when your fathers provoked me, declares Yahuah of hosts, and I did not relent. So again in these days I have purposed to do good to Jerusalem and to the house of Yehudah. Do not fear. These are the words you should do. Speak the truth to one another. Judge with truth and right ruling for peace in your gates. And do not plot evil in your heart against another, and do not love a false oath. For all these I hate, declares Yahuah. And the word of Yahuah of hosts came to me, saying, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, the fast of the 4th, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th month are to be joy and gladness, and pleasant appointed times for the house of Yehudah, and they shall love the truth and the peace. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, peoples shall yet come, inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of the one go to another, saying, Let us earnestly go and pray before Yahuah, and seek Yahuah of hosts. I myself am going. And many peoples and strong nations shall come to seek Yahuah of hosts in Jerusalem, and to pray before Yahuah. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, in those days 10 men from all languages of the nations take hold. Yes, they shall take hold of the edge of the garment of a man, a Yehudi, saying, Let us go with you, for we have heard that Elohim is with you. The message of the word of Yahuah against the land of Hadrach, and Damasek its resting place, when the eye of man and all the tribes of Yisrael are on Yahuah, and Hamath also borders on it, Tsor and Sidon, though they are very wise. For Tsor built herself a tower, heaped up silver like the dust, and gold like the mud of the streets. See, Yahuah shall dispossess her, and he shall strike her power in the sea, and she shall be consumed by fire. Ashkelon sees it and fears, Azar too, writhing in anguish, and Ekron, for her expectation has dried up. And the sovereign shall perish from Azar, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. And a Mamzer shall settle in Ashdod. So I shall cut off the pride of the Philistines, and shall take away his blood from his mouth, and the abominations from between his teeth. And he shall remain, even he, to our Elohim, and he shall be like a leader in Yehudah, and Ekron like a Jebusite. And I shall encamp around my house against an army, against him who passes by and him who returns, so that no oppressor passes through them again. For now I have seen with my eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. See, Your sovereign is coming to you. He is righteous and endowed with deliverance, humble and riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. And I shall cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace to the nations, and his rule is from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth. Also you, because of the blood of your covenant, I shall send your prisoners out of the pit. Return to the stronghold, you prisoners of the expectation. Even today I declare that I return double to you. For I shall bend Yehudah for me. I shall fill the bow with Ephraim, and I shall stir up your sons, O Zion, against your sons, O Greece. And I shall make you like the sword of a mighty man. And Yahuah shall appear for them, and his arrow go forth like lightning, and the Master Yahuah sound with the shophar, and he shall go with whirlwinds from the south. Yahuah of hosts shall shield them, and they shall devour and trample on slingstones, and they shall drink, roar as if with wine, and they shall be filled like basins, like the corners of the slaughter place. And Yahuah their Elohim shall save them in that day, as the flock of his people for the stones of a diadem, sparkling over his land. For what goodness is his, and what comeliness is his. Grain make the young men thrive, and new wine the maidens. Ask Yahuah for rain in the time of the latter rain, Yahuah who makes storm clouds, and he gives them showers of rain, the plants in the field to everyone. For the household idols spoke emptiness. The diviners saw falsehood, and relate dreams of deceit. They comfort in vain. Therefore they have wandered about like sheep. They are afflicted, for there is no shepherd. My wrath burns against the shepherds, and I lay a charge against the leaders. For Yahuah of hosts shall visit his flock, the house of Yehudah, and make them like his splendid horse in battle. From him comes the cornerstone, from him the tent peg, from him the battle bow, from him every ruler, together. And they shall be like mighty men, who trample down the mud of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight, because Yahuah is with them, and the riders on horses shall be put to shame. And I shall make the house of Yehudah mighty, and save the house of Joseph. And I shall bring them back, because I have compassion on them. And they shall be as though I had not pushed them aside. For I am Yahuah their Elohim, and I answer them. And Ephraim shall be as a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as if with wine, and their children shall see and rejoice, their heart exulting in Yahuah. I shall whistle for them and gather them, for I shall ransom them, and they shall increase as they once increased. Though I sow them among peoples, they shall remember me in places far away, and they shall live, together with their children, and they shall return. And I shall bring them back from the land of Mitzrayim, and gather them from Ashur, and bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, until no more room is found for them. And he shall pass through the sea of distress, and strike the waves of the sea, and all the depths of the river shall dry up, and the pride of Ashur shall be brought down, and the scepter of Mitzrayim be taken away, and I shall make them mighty in Yahuah, so that they walk up and down in his name, declares Yahuah. Open your doors, O Lebanon, and let fire devour your cedars. Howl, O Cyprus, for the cedar has fallen, because the mighty are ravaged. Howl, O oaks of Bashan, for the dense forest has come down. Listen, the howling of shepherds, for their splendor is ravaged. Listen, the roaring of lions, for the pride of the Yarden is ravaged. Thus said Yahuah my Elohim, feed the flock for slaughter, whose owners kill them and feel no guilt, and their sellers say, Blessed be Yahuah, for I have become rich, and their own shepherds do not spare them. For I shall no longer spare the inhabitants of the land, declares Yahuah. But see, I am delivering up mankind, each one into his neighbor's hand, and into the hand of his sovereign, and they shall crush the earth. But I do not deliver from their hand. So I shepherded the flock meant for slaughter, the truly poor of the flock. And I took for myself 2 staffs. The one I called pleasantness, and the other I called unity. And I shepherded the flock. Then I sent off the 3 shepherds in 1 month, for my being despised them, and their being also loathed me. So I said, I am not shepherding you. Let the dying die, and the straying stray, and let those who are left eat each other's flesh. And I took my staff, pleasantness, and cut it in 2, to break the covenant which I had made with all the peoples. So it was broken on that day, and the poor of the flock, who were watching me, knew that it was the word of Yahuah. And I said to them, If it is good in your eyes, give me my wages, and if not, refrain. So they weighed out for my wages 30 pieces of silver. And Yahuah said to me, Throw it to the potter, the splendid price at which I was valued by them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of Yahuah for the potter. Then I cut in 2 my other staff, unity, to break the brotherhood between Yehudah and Yisrael. And Yahuah said to me, Take again the implements of a foolish shepherd. For look, I am raising up a shepherd in the land who does not visit those straying, nor seek the young, nor heal those that are broken, nor feed those that still stand. But he does eat the flesh of the fat and tear off their hooves. Woe to the worthless shepherd forsaking the flock. Let a sword be upon his arm and upon his right eye. His arm shall wither, and his right eye shall be dimmed. The message of the word of Yahuah against Yisrael. Yahuah, stretching out the heavens and laying the foundation of the earth and forming the spirit of man within him, declares, See, I am making Yerushalayim a cup of reeling to all the people all around, and also against Yehudah. It is in the siege against Yerushalayim. And in that day it shall be that I make Yerushalayim a very heavy stone for all peoples. All lifting it are severely injured, and all the nations of the earth shall be gathered against it. In that day, declares Yahuah, I strike every horse with bewilderment, and its rider with madness. And on the house of Yehudah I open my eyes. But every horse of the peoples I strike with blindness. And the leaders of Yehudah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem are a strength to me, through Yahuah of hosts, their Elohim. In that day I make the leaders of Yehudah like a firepot among trees, and like a torch of fire in the sheaves. And they shall consume all the peoples all around, on the right and on the left. And Jerusalem shall dwell again in her own place, in Jerusalem. And Yahuah shall save the tents of Yehudah first, so that the comeliness of the house of David and the comeliness of the inhabitants of Jerusalem would not become greater than that of Yehudah. In that day Yahuah shall shield the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the feeble among them in that day shall be like David, and the house of David like Elohim, like the messenger of Yahuah before them. And it shall be in that day that I seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I shall pour on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of favor and prayers. And they shall look on me whom they pierced, and they shall mourn for him, as one mourns for his only son. And they shall be in bitterness over him, as a bitterness over the firstborn. In that day the mourning in Jerusalem is going to be great, like the mourning at Hadad Rimmon in the valley of Megiddo. And the land shall mourn, every clan by itself, the clan of the house of David by itself, and their women by themselves, the clan of the house of Nathan by itself, and their women by themselves, the clan of the house of Levi by itself, and their women by themselves, the clan of Shimei by itself, and their women by themselves, all the rest of the clans, every clan by itself, and their women by themselves. In that day a fountain shall be opened for the house of David, and for the inhabitants of Jerusalem, for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall be in that day, declares Yahuah of hosts, that I cut off the names of the idols from the earth, and they shall be remembered no more. And I shall also remove the prophets and the unclean spirit from the earth. And it shall be, when one prophesies again, then his father and mother, who brought him forth, shall say to him, You shall not live, because you have spoken falsehood in the name of Yahuah. And his father and mother, who brought him forth, shall pierce him through when he prophesies. And it shall be in that day that the prophets shall be ashamed, every one of his vision when he prophesies, and not put a hairy robe on in order to deceive, but shall say, I am no prophet, I am a farmer, for a man sold me as a slave in my youth. And one shall say to him, What are these wounds in your hands? And he shall say, Because I was struck at home by those who love me. O sword, awake against my shepherd, against the man who is my companion, declares Yahuah of hosts. Strike the she-shepherd, and let the sheep be scattered. But I shall turn my hand upon the little ones, and it shall be throughout all the soil, declares Yahuah, that 2/3 therein are cut off and die, and 1/3 is left therein. And I shall bring the third into fire, and refine them as silver is refined, and try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I shall answer them. I shall say, this is my people, while they say, Yahuah is my Elohim. See, a day shall come for Yahuah, and your spoil shall be divided in your midst. And I shall gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem, and the city shall be taken, the houses plundered, and the women ravished. Half of the city shall go into exile, but the remnant of the people shall not be cut off from the city. And Yahuah shall go forth, and he shall fight against those nations, as he fights in the day of battle. And in that day his feet shall stand upon the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall be split in two, from east to west, a very great valley. And half of the mountain shall move toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And you shall flee to the valley of my mountain. For the valley of the mountains reaches to Atzal. And you shall flee as you fled from the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehudah. And Yahuah my Elohim shall come, all the set-apart ones with you. And in that day it shall be, there is no light, it is dark. And it shall be one day which is known to Yahuah, neither day nor night. But at evening time there shall be light. And in that day it shall be that living waters flow from Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea, and half of them toward the western sea, in summer as well as in winter. And Yahuah shall be sovereign over all the earth. In that day there shall be one Yahuah, and his name one. All the land shall be changed into a desert plain, from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem. And she shall be raised up and inhabited in her place, from Binyamin's gate to the place of the first gate and the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel to the winepresses of the sovereign. And they shall dwell in her, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this is the plague with which Yahuah plagues all the people who fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall decay while they stand on their feet, and their eyes decay in their sockets, and their tongues decay in their mouths. And it shall be in that day that a great confusion from Yahuah is among them. And every one of them shall seize the hand of his neighbor, and his hand rise up against his neighbor's hand. And Yehudah shall fight at Jerusalem as well, and the wealth of all the nations round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver, and garments in great quantities. So also is the plague on the horse and the mule, on the camel and the donkey, and on all the cattle that are in those camps, as this plague. And it shall be that all who are left from all the nations which came up against Jerusalem shall go up from year to year to bow themselves to the sovereign, Yahuah of hosts, and to celebrate the festival of Sukkot. And it shall be that if any one of the clans of the earth does not come up to Jerusalem to bow himself to the sovereign, Yahuah of hosts, on them there is to be no rain. And if the clan of Mitzrayim does not come up and enter in, then there is no rain. On them is the plague with which Yahuah plagues the nations who do not come up to celebrate the festival of Sukkot. This is the punishment of Mitzrayim, and the punishment of all the nations that do not come up to celebrate the festival of Sukkot. In that day, set apart to Yahuah shall be engraved on the bells of the horses, and the pots in the house of Yahuah shall be like the bowls before the slaughter place, and every pot in Jerusalem and Yehudah shall be set apart to Yahuah of hosts. And all those who slaughter shall come and take them and cook in them. And there shall no longer be a merchant in the house of Yahuah of hosts in that day.